Hello, everybody. Dr. Deb here with Ask Me Almost Anything. And I say almost because I'm not your clinician, right? But I am happy to answer a lot of your questions. I just can't prescribe for you. So, just to remind you, I am the president of the Food Coach Academy. I think I come up with a different title every time I talk, but anyway, created the Food Coach Academy with Rouxbe, and we have a price that I think is a very sweet spot, not knowing if it's going to last more than May. So $4,200 off. So if you've ever thought of becoming a food coach, now is really the time to do it. So you'll see some links to the Food Coach Academy and the textbooks right below where you clicked on here. So I saw a lot of your questions, and I am going to go and give probably a 5-minute introduction about health and wellness and food. So when I get questions like, and I'm going to answer them, and they're great questions. How can I get enough calcium? How can I get enough iron? I have osteopenia. What should I do? I've got, menopause symptoms and all of that. There is a lot you can do from a food perspective, but none of it will work. I need you to listen to me. None of it will work unless your baseline is a healthful baseline. And what I mean by that is, are you drinking enough water every day? And please don't hear the Charlie Brown, wah, 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 because this is true. It's true and it's old and you've heard it a lot of times, but you got to get enough water. You got to move your body every day. Move it or lose it. You got to move your body every day. And you need a mostly whole food, meaning very little processed foods. Stay away from ultra processed foods. I'm just reading data every day that comes out about that. 14% of deaths in the United States are attributable to ultra processed foods. And having fruit, vegetables, good sources of protein and fat, as well as whole grains. You do that, that's your basis. And on that, absolutely. You need some more iron. I got you. I got your back. You need more calcium. I got your back. But I can't undo if you are not moving your body, not getting enough water to move things around, and if you're not pooping every day. You got to make sure you get enough fiber. And I'm going to talk a lot about poop because your gut health is totally linked like this to the health of your body. Right. So that is my talk on the foundation. Now, my talk on when you're choosing your health and you've been diagnosed with something, and I know better than anyone what that is like. If you followed me, you know I was diagnosed with cancer in my 20s, given 2 weeks to live. And what I can tell you is that there are different healing modalities, and you get to make your choice, right? So food is used in Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine, in a lot of indigenous cultures. And I'm hearing some feedback. Patrick, I think your mic might be on. Okay. So, all right, there it goes away. All right, everybody. So I'm going to go and look at your questions right now. And we're going to start from Eugene. Eugene, hello, Eugene. I am so excited that you're excited for this class. And I loved your question. And I was able to do a deep dive because I know some, but I didn't know all about the different types of surfaces on pots and pans. So I interpreted your question: when working with taste and flavor, when cooking, does the cookware play a role in the outcome? As, can you get taste and flavor from your pot and pan? That's one of them. And the answer is yes to that question. If you use a seasoned wok or a seasoned cast iron pan, you know that the deeper, the richer, the more flavor that happens. I mean, if your cast iron pan looks something like this, oh my gosh, it's heavy, like that. Every time I cook in that, whether it's eggs or, pasta sauce, I am infusing certain flavors into that. But those are the only two types of pans because you've seasoned them well enough and they have flavor within the coating. Then the second way I interpret your question is, can cookware affect the taste and flavor of the food that you're cooking directly? And then we're getting into the distribution of heat and the conduction of heat. Those two elements will make or break how you are cooking a food. So what you want ideally is a surface, whether that is iron or copper or stainless steel, is you want that metal to be able to conduct heat, bring heat in, and you want it to be evenly distributed. With cast iron pans, it's a great conductor and it evenly distributes. Same with copper pans. When we look at stainless steel pans, it's not a good conductor and it's not a good distributor. So what happens is, you might have noticed that if you go to sear something in a stainless steel pan, you'll get spots where you have searing and spots that you don't. Where in a cast iron pan or a copper pan, you're going to see an even sear. So there's that aspect of it in terms of distribution and conduction. I do also want to bring up a third point, Eugene, which is, are some of these pots and pans covered with toxic material? And some of them are. So I do not use nonstick surfaces. I do not use them because they can start to flake, and they have these toxic chemicals called heterocyclic amines. Big word, but usually when you start using a nonstick pan, and if you use anything metal, you'll see these pieces being sloughed off, and that's not healthy for you at all. With cast iron pans and copper pans, what you're finding is that if you use a cast iron pan, you are absorbing and into the food some iron. And then when you eat that food, you're absorbing some iron. No big issue there. Actually, it's a good way to get some source of iron. However, if you cook in your iron pan acidic foods, like if you're going to cook something for several hours, like you're going to do a really good pasta sauce, you want to make sure you don't do that in a cast iron pan, because you don't want to be absorbing that, releasing that much iron, right? So then I would use a stainless steel. So I'm not searing anything. I would use a stainless steel pan there. With a copper pan, you can release some little bits of copper, and that's fine for you as well. Copper is a mineral that we need. So when you're using, there's another type of pan that is ceramic in the bottom, and it's got the cast iron, and then it has this shellacked layer of like glass-like layer. That pan also is not going to release toxic chemicals, which is great because it's more like glass. If you start chipping the glass, then of course you'd want to either get a renewed layer put on it, or you're most likely just going to have to throw it out. So your pots and pans do provide a little bit of flavor if it's cast iron or wok. They can provide a little bit of nutrients if it's copper or iron. And if you are wanting to cook at a higher level, and versus the everyday chef that might not notice that something wasn't seared, you want to stick to your cast iron and your copper. And if you're not searing, stainless steel is totally fine as well. I did learn this one piece of information I did not learn about, and this was from Dr. Greger. And there's a link that you might want to look at, Eugene, when he looked at cast iron pans. If you want to deep fry something in a cast iron pan, because it's a good conductor, it's going to reach a temperature that's very high. And if you have, let's say you have peanut oil or canola oil that you're deep frying your food in, it's going to create trans fat, which is the no unhealthy fat, from that healthful plant-based oil fat. So a lot of answers to your question. I hope that answered it, Eugene. If not, stick another question in the list. All right. Kia, what foods are good to eat for iron deficiency and pre-menopause side effects? I am going to focus on the iron deficiency piece right now, and I'm going to go into pre-menopause because someone later down the list is talking about hormones and estrogen and progesterone and all of that. So so you have two forms of iron. You have what's called heme iron, which comes from meats, like your beef, and you have non-heme iron that comes from plants. And you can get as much as you need from non-heme plant-based sources of iron. And they are your green leafy vegetables like spinach and Swiss chard. It's your white beans and lentils and your quinoa and rice and oats. If you see me looking down, because I'm reading from a list, apricots and figs, and what don't want to leave anything out. There are phytates, which is a chemical that is just found naturally in vegetables. And the only thing you need to know about it is not healthy for you, but it inhibits the absorption of some iron. But if you're eating enough fruits and vegetables, you do not, and whole grains, you do not have to worry about the phytates. That's just a small part. So I'm not sure if you're asking if you can get enough iron from from plant sources. The answer is yes, you can. Absolutely. Eat a variety of grains and vegetables, especially green leafy and a lot of legumes, and you'll be all set there. Okay. And the other thing about iron is vitamin C helps to absorb the iron. So if you have something that you're eating like spinach and maybe you put some lemon juice on it, you're going to absorb the amount of iron in that. And the acid's going to help improve the taste of the spinach. A twofer. Leanne, what is the best and flavorful substitute for sugar in recipes? I am going to assume you mean baking here. But even if you're not and you're talking about adding something sweet to a savory dish, your best bet is fruit, because fruit comes with the fiber and the phytonutrients and all sorts of healthful nutrients that your body needs. So I like fruit pastes and fruit sauce. Dried fruit is also a good addition when we're talking about adding some savory, some sweetness to some savory elements. When we're talking about baking, however, there are many things that you can do to increase the sweetness and decrease the amount of sugar that you're going to be adding. So if that's what you're talking about, I know someone down the list also asked, how do you bake with low sugar? Number one, sugar is sugar is sugar. So whether you're putting maple syrup, honey, agave, raw cane syrup, raw cane sugar, anything like that, you're looking at the amount of glucose. It's the same. Agave is one of my least favorite sweeteners because it's very high in fructose, and fructose cannot be digested by your body. It gets stored in your liver and you can develop fatty liver disease. So agave is not, in my opinion, in my 30 years of being a PhD nutritionist, is not a healthful sweetener. The good thing about when you're looking for sweetness to add to something, if you're adding sugar, you're adding the taste of sweetness. So follow me here for a second. You've got the taste of sweetness, but if you're using maple syrup or you're using honey, you get flavor in that. You're tasting more than just sweetness. You're tasting the incredible back notes of syrup and honey, and you need less of it because you're getting more flavor. So that's how that part works. When you're looking at baking, you can substitute maple syrup and honey for the sugar, and you need less of it. So that's a way to spare some sugar. Also, there's something called the baker's percentage, and there's a link on that as well. You look at the amount of flour in a baked product is equaling 100%, and you're doing it by weight. So the amount of weight of sugar over the amount of weight of flour can help you figure out how much in a recipe can you decrease the amount of sugar and still have a valid product. And it differs whether you're making cookies or brownies or cakes. So that's a really great thing to know. So you've got your healthful fruit paste that you can use in some recipes. You've got some applesauce you can add in, let's say you're making a tea cake or a zucchini bread, and you are wanting to decrease the amount of sugar and increase the flavor, you can add some applesauce and you don't need as much sugar, if at all. So those are all ways, and I'll have to talk about a little bit about alternatives. Artificially sweetened ingredients like your aspartame, your potassium asulfame, all of those that are artificial sweeteners, there's always a caveat there. They all say, don't heat this up too much because you're going to create toxic compounds. I do not believe, in my opinion, that artificial sweeteners should be used in anyone's diet. And then we have things that aren't artificially sweetened, like monk fruit. For a cup of sugar, you need a quarter cup of monk fruit. Data on that shows that that is a fruit, so it has not been shown to be damaging to us. And it all depends on your palate. With monk fruit, I can taste the second I swallow something, it leaves this acrid taste in the back of my mouth. But that's me. That's my palate. We all have different palates. All of you on this call have different palates. So monk fruit might be a great thing if you don't have that reaction like I do. And then we have stevia, which is an herb that is used. Very, very sweet. You have to follow some specific instructions when you're using stevia. You basically need very little of it. In baking, it's not, you can tell it's in there. Let's just say you can tell it's in there. All right. So that's how you can substitute sugar in recipes. And Elizabeth, you're a member of the Bright Line Eating, and I had to look that up, and that looks really fun. And you're particularly interested in cooking without flour and sugar. Right. Bringing more flavor to vegetables and fish, chicken is a great interest to me. Elizabeth, you need to join the Food Coach Academy. I'm telling you why, because that's what we teach you. That's what we teach everybody. And not only you how to do that, but for you to teach others how to do it. So let's take one thing at a time. If you want to cook without flour, if you want to cook without processed flour, or I'm assuming you don't mean without grains. And if you're talking about processed flour, then what comes up for me is like if you want to make a white sauce, you could use something else to make a white sauce, like cauliflower or white beans or cashews to make a white sauce. So that's one way you can create white sauces without flour. If I'm thinking baking, because I'm looking, where else would you be using flour when you're cooking and you're baking? Switching to whole grain flours is another option. And there's all these fun things you can do with, you can make brownies with black beans, but I'm not sure you can make brownies with black beans without any flour in them. You'd have to look that up. So you're always looking for a substitution between what is a healthy form of sugar. Does it come with phytonutrients, fiber, vitamins, and minerals? So your sugar substitutes are your fruit. It's also using culinary techniques like roasting to caramelize vegetables will bring out that sweetness. That's what you're looking for with sugar. With flour, you're looking at, for me as a nutritionist, I'd be interpreting that as I want you to use whole grains. So I'm not sure if your flour includes pastas and breads and crackers and all of that, or if you're cutting all flour out, that's a completely different thing. And if you're cutting all flour out, does that also include gluten-free flours? And if you're thinking gluten-free flours are healthier than not, a gluten-free diet is, I'm going to say it again, if you've listened to me, a gluten-free diet is very, very low in fiber. It's not a healthful diet unless your body cannot stand gluten and you have this response. But it's not for, I want to be healthy, I'm going gluten-free. That's not how it works. And in terms of vegetables, there are great techniques. You learn how to use culinary techniques to make vegetables craveable, how you add acid to make vegetables craveable. You learn how to add salt throughout the cooking process, so you use less of it. So you're using salt strategically. These are all methods when we're making vegetables taste really flavorful, adding herbs and spices to them as well. With fish and chicken, which are of great interest to you, again, you're talking about healthful sources of protein. There are different ways to cook fish without deep frying it. Same with chicken. Roasting is going to be a great friend of yours. Poaching is another great healthful way to make them. If you're looking at decreasing the amount of meat protein and increasing plant protein, there's something called the protein swap we also talk about and you learn about. So for instance, if you had ground chicken and you wanted to make a taco out of that, you would add a can of black beans to it and you get double the amount of filling, which is a really great tip on that as well. All right, and here we go. Claudia wants to know what can help balance hormones. And this is a big, big, big topic right now. Perimenopause, menopause, balancing the hormones. I went through it twice, so I know how uncomfortable this can be. So hormones need to be regulated in the body. And I'm going like this because I'm imagining your intestines, right? And if you have enough fiber in your diet, you're going to release some cholesterol and some estrogen, and you're going to be able to eliminate that. And so the biggest thing you need to pay attention to is the amount of times you're pooping a day, because your gut health is going to completely influence your health around your hormones, as well as many other things, your mood, your neurotransmitters, all of that. So the first step I would say is to make sure that you're eating foods high in fiber, like berries and whole grains and nuts and seeds, to make sure that you are eliminating your bowels once a day. Once you have that going, again, making sure you're getting enough water, you're exercising. And another piece I'm just going to go into before I go into the food piece is that appreciating and realizing that this is a stage in your life, and that there are some expectations that need to be let go of while you enter into this new phase in your life that has its own positives as well. So I hope you're entering into this phase without fear, without feeling of such loss that you're not able to enter into it into just a centered way. Your body, as we age, everybody becomes something different every day, every year, and being able to give our body what it needs is really important. So when we're looking at creating some hormones, we're also looking at making sure your antioxidant system and your anti-inflammatory system are working together and they're working well. So those are the foods that you're going to focus on: antioxidants and anti-inflammatories. When you create what's called reactive oxygen species, like you're creating oxidants, you need an antioxidant to grab it and get rid of it before it damages your body. One of the things it does is it goes, oh, we need to set up we're going to start this inflammation process if you have too many oxidants. And so these two feed into one another. So they need to be attended to together. And the good news is that what's good for one seems to be good for the other. Again, we're talking about fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds are really great antioxidants. So are cruciferous vegetables. That's your broccoli, your cauliflower, your Brussels sprouts. Those help to get rid of materials that your body no longer doesn't need anymore after it goes through a process. Turmeric, which is in a lot of curries, that is fabulous. And if you followed me, I've talked about turmeric a lot. Turmeric with black pepper means you can absorb it. If you don't add black pepper to the turmeric, you're not absorbing it. So I like to put them in smoothies. Going through the process, I would strongly suggest, Claudia, that you create a anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, robust smoothie every morning. And you put some raw turmeric in it. And if you can't find that, you can put the spice in there, some black pepper. Berries are fabulous antioxidants, fruits and nuts. So I would do a variety of fruit, a variety of vegetables, green leafy vegetables. I would put some nuts in there as well. and some turmeric, and I would have that. And if you needed another one throughout the day because it was a particularly bad day, have another one. Now, your anti-inflammatories are the same as what I just talked about, but also the omega-3 fats. The omega-3 fats are really important. They are found in fatty fish like salmon, but they also are robust in your chia seeds, your flax seeds, your hemp seeds, and you can get plenty of omega-3 from plant-based sources. Dark leafy greens, broccoli, onions, those are all anti-inflammatory as well. You can go on, there are so many different programs out there that will list the foods that help with inflammation and and antioxidants. And you can, I would suggest you create a list and you make sure that you create a meal or two that has that. And just as importantly, well, chocolate's going to make you flare up. I'm just telling you, we want the chocolate, but does that ever set us off sometimes? Also, covering this part of your body. If you cover this part of your body, you're going to get a hot flash. Take it from me. So you want to make sure you're not doing ultra processed foods, eating lots of sugar, and that way you're not going to, your body's not going to be in this inflammatory state. So all those anti-inflammatory and antioxidant foods I talked about, if you're eating a lot of ultra processed foods, it's not going to have the same effect. It's going to really diminish the effect and you're going to have little to no effect if that is the basis of your diet. Okay, so let's summarize. Lots of fruits, vegetables, berries. Even in antioxidants, we have coffee and tea in there. You don't want too much because that could flare you up. Things that can help flare women to have hot flashes is too much caffeine, too much chocolate, ultra processed foods. So we want to make sure we don't have those. All right. I hope that helped. Andrea wants me to share some resources in culinary medicine. Well, I have to talk about mine first, but also the Teaching Kitchen Collaborative, which is at the Culinary Institute of America. They have been around since about 2015. I was one of the first members of their Teaching Kitchen Collaborative, and I was in charge of creating culinary medicine curricula. It didn't exist back then, which is why I went on to create the culinary medicine series with 40 experts from around the world and a dozen chefs. So the textbooks that I have created is the foundational element in culinary medicine. The Teaching Kitchen, if you're looking at wanting to create your own teaching kitchen, you definitely want to hook up with the Teaching Kitchen Collaborative. And you can just Google them, TKC, and they have lots of resources, how to set up a teaching kitchen. They also have opportunities to partner and get involved in research and promoting this field of culinary medicine. So you'll see that link. I believe I put that there for you. I did. I included the link. So let me know how that goes. And also the Food Coach Academy is based on culinary medicine. I brought it to the people. Most of the culinary medicine to date has been to teach clinicians. I know that we all have the capacity to cook, and what is needed does not take a medical degree in culinary medicine. And what I see happening is that community members are healing community members, helping them heal by being the at-the-elbow support, by teaching them how to translate nutrition recommendations, eat more fruit, eat more vegetables, eat more fiber into what shows up on their plate. So I hope that helps. Randy, can I discuss how bad vegetable oil or avocado oil is compared to olive oil? Basically, I try not to use oil with cooking, roasting, but like to know if there's much of a difference to help choose. So Randy, you need to familiarize yourself with the smoke point of oils. And so just Google what the smoke point of oil is. So for instance, avocado oil, it takes to 500 degrees before it starts to smoke, which is why if you're cooking something on high heat, avocado oil would be much better than especially first pressed olive oil, because the olive oil will start to smoke. When it starts to smoke, it creates toxins. You don't want that to happen. So you need to pay attention to the smoke point of oils when you are cooking. So again, you want to look for something that has high smoke point. Extra virgin olive oil has a lot of the nutrients still in there. Like you should see it should be practically green and it should have a little bitter taste in the back of your mouth. You go like this a little bit. That's not one you want to cook with. That's one you want to save for when you can taste all those robust flavors in your salads, or I even sprinkle a little bit on top of sliced oranges with a little bit of salt and pepper. And holy moly, that is fantastic. I'm not, unless you want me to get into vegetable oils, seed oils, I'm not going to go into that right now. If you want me to go into that, stick it in the question and I'll get into it a little later. Because I think really what you're talking about, because you do refer to cooking and roasting, is you're talking about the smoke point of oils. All right. Suzanne, you've been diagnosed with osteopenia, meaning that your bones are getting weaker. There's not enough calcium. You're not in favor of supplements. You want to increase your calcium through your diet. And you can definitely do it through your diet, depending on how advanced your osteopenia is. And that's a conversation with your clinician. How I can help you right now is to tell you what foods are high in calcium, and to tell you that in order to absorb that calcium, it's more than just calcium you're looking for. You want to make sure you have the vitamin D that lets the calcium in. With bone repair, bone repair or building up your bones, you also want to make sure you have enough vitamin K and vitamin C and some omega-3 fatty acids and magnesium. So you're looking at dark leafy greens. You're looking at fish with the bones in them. So I'm not asking you to go out and eat salmon with the bones, but the sardines or the smoked trout that Trader Joe's has, when you eat those bones, you're getting a ton of calcium from them as well. Foods that are fortified in calcium are also a great option for you, whether that's plant-based milk that's fortified in calcium and vitamin D, or whether that's your tofu that is fortified in calcium. A lot of tofu soy products are fortified in calcium. You also want to make sure that you are not eating a lot of salt. Salt will pull the calcium from your bone. So I've told you what to eat: the green leafies, the fortified foods, the white beans, the figs, the apricots, the almonds, the broccoli, and not a lot of salt. That'll pull it out of your body. Not a lot of alcohol, not a lot of sweets, because you don't want things pulling the calcium from your bones. And you want to keep your coffee intake to less than 3 a day. When I speak with kids, I let them know that your bones are like a bank. They can absorb calcium until they're about age 25, and then it's about maintaining your calcium. So what you want to focus on is making sure you're not going to lose any more calcium from your bone and try and get a little bit more in there. And when I look up hair growth, again, you have a fabulous diet, right? It's full of whole foods, mostly plant-based, and you want to support your hair. So you're going to make sure you've got enough protein, you've got enough healthy fats, vitamin D's, B vitamins, and iron. Again, if you have that type of diet to begin with, then you can support healthful hair growth. All right. Eugene, you also had a fabulous second question for me, which I had to do some digging into because it's something that always intrigued me. Okay, here we go. When using your fresh herbs, does aquaponic versus organic make a difference in the amount of phytonutrient that the plant gives? So I looked that up, Eugene. So when plants are growing, they make their own vitamins. So the vitamins isn't going to differ. Isn't that cool? What is taken up through the roots are minerals. And the third thing you want to pay attention to is your phytonutrients. Now, phytonutrients are those superpowers in plant-based foods, and they taste bitter. And the reason they taste bitter is because that's the way the vegetable's saying, don't eat me, I'm bitter. It's the way to protect itself. So when you stress a vegetable, and yes, you can stress a vegetable, like you can stress any of us, it creates more phytonutrients. And being in an aquaponic environment is more stressful for the plant, so it's going to make more phytonutrients, says one study. We'll have to see if that, continues to be seen. You don't have to worry about the vitamin content, but it's hard to compare unless you know what is in that aquaponic solution. Are they putting the minerals in there so that the plant can absorb it? So I can't give you like a very hard and fast rule like organic is always better than aquaponic, or in soil versus in water, because I don't know what the solution is. When it comes to organic, this is how I feel about organic fruits and vegetables. I have spoken about this and dug deep into this for 30 years now, and have come up with, as many in the field have done who are experts in it, it is more valuable for you to eat fruits and vegetables, and we're talking like 4 servings of vegetables, 3 servings of fruit a day, than it is to worry about organic. So for instance, if all you can get is non-organic fruits and vegetables, that is fabulous. If, however, you have the money to buy the organic foods, then when I was going through cancer, I bought the organic foods because I had a reason to not put anything else in my body. And I find that depending on where you are in life, that is important to some people, especially people with little kids or people that are ill. And with that, I'll go to the Dirty Dozen Healthy 15 list. And if you don't know about that, Eugene, look up CSPI, Consumer Science in the Public Interest. They have this list they put out every year based on the amount of pesticides on the outside of the fruit or vegetable. And you can look up, if I only have this amount of money and I really don't want foods high in pesticides, what are the foods that are the cleanest and aren't going to have a lot of pesticides on it? And what are the vegetables? And what are the worst ones, right? And do it that way. So I hope that helps. All right. And Joan asked about foods that can help reduce inflammation. And we went over that already. Oh, I'm not going to touch this again. I keep pulling it back so I can see better, people. But all right. I knew someone was going to talk about agave. Huh? Yes. Agave syrup because it's a syrup and it's concentrated, it has a lot more fructose than what is found in fruit. You don't have to concern yourself with the fructose in fruit. What comes in nature is helpful for us, right? As long as we don't abuse it, overuse it, or put things on it that don't belong there. It depends on what you're dealing with. And if you're looking at how much fruit can I take in, if you have diabetes or pre-diabetes, I have a different answer for you. If you are looking at not spiking your sugar levels for metabolic syndrome, if you are trying not to eat FODMAPs, I would have a completely different answer for you. A lot of people with irritable bowel syndrome can't do fructose, oligosaccharides. Each one of those stands for something, and you would eat a lot less fruit. But in the general population, when we look at the varying amounts of recommendations for fruits and vegetables, 5 fruits and vegetables a day is literally at one end of the spectrum. But if you're looking at cancer prevention and heart disease, you're looking at more like 10 fruits and vegetables a day, not each. So it would be about 5 vegetables, 3 fruit, I would say. And your body never lies. So your body will tell you when what you're eating does not work anymore. If you're eating too much fruit, your body's going to let you know. You're going to get maybe a bit of gas and some diarrhea. And then that was a little too much. What are the best foods to get enough calcium every day? That is your green leafy vegetables. It is your fish with bones in it. It is your broccoli, your almonds, your white beans, your figs. So Linda, I would suggest you print out a list of foods. And I'm sorry, Linda, I was assuming you didn't do dairy. And if you do dairy, then you want your yogurt's a fabulous source of calcium. Also, milk products, kefir is a really great source because you're getting that fermentation from the kefir as well as the yogurt. That's a really great way. So I would print out that list and make sure that you're getting 3 servings a day. And Joan, absolutely, foods can reduce inflammation. They can also promote, can reduce inflammation. What's the word for, okay, if it's inflammatory, yes, there are a lot of foods that inflame our bodies. And there are a lot of foods that take away the inflammation in our bodies. You got it coming in and you got it going out. You want to make sure the processed foods, the red meats, the high sugar, high processed foods, which I said before, because I'm right, that you're taking those away and you're adding in those that have anti-inflammatory properties. There are certain foods that are really, really strong in that, like the turmeric I had explained about before. And your dark leafy greens, your broccoli, your tomatoes, your onions, your omega-3 fatty acids, those are really important to have every day to provide what the body needs to decrease the amount of inflammation and then to get rid of pouring the inflammatory elements into our diet. So I hope that helps you, Joan. Steve, yes, can we talk about seed oils? Is any of the social media fear-mongering real? If so, how concerned should average people be versus other dietary health factors? It is just smoke, blowing smoke. All right. There always is something that comes around. And I've been around for 30 years. There's always something that's going to save us all from everything. And all we have to do is drink kombucha tea. Were you around when that happened? Or we need to stop eating this. And grapefruit would help us lose weight. When someone comes out with one thing is going to fix it all, or there's one bad thing out there, you can almost guarantee 95% that is not true. When I look at oils, I look at the research. I talk to the top scientists for the culinary medicine textbook series. When you're talking fat, and we need fat, people, fat is not a bad thing. It's what covers your nerves, and it's what is on the outside of all of your cells. Your cells and your nerves need to be able to be flexible. If you are going to go towards butter and lard and beef tallow, they're going to be stiff. Things aren't going to be able to come out, like the toxins in there. Good things aren't going to be able to come in. You're going to have this stiff. So things that are solid at room temperature, your butter, your lard, your beef tallow, are not healthy. That has not changed over decades. Not healthy. Not to say once in a while you can make something out of it. But if the McDonald's goes and makes beef tallow, we're talking a public health issue going to happen on our hands. Oils that are liquid at room temperature are healthful for us in moderation. I'm not saying go out and chug these things. So what I use in my kitchen, I will get canola oil when I don't want to use the expensive stuff. But my canola oil, my soy oil is going to be GMO free, right? So when we're talking about a lot of these seed oils, we need to think, how are they being made? And what are the toxic compounds that are being used to make these seed oils? It's not so much about the seed, it's how the oils are being made. It's not so much about the plant, it's about how the oils are being made. That is the toxic part of this whole equation. And I think people got mixed up and then just threw the seed and the plant oils under the bus when they don't need to be. So organic, non-GMO canola oil I will use when I don't need an olive oil. And this is my olive oil that I use when I'm cooking. I also have the olive oil hunter who sends me bottles that are just the best olive oil I've ever had. So, to summarize, have oils and fats that are liquid at room temperature. Again, you don't need a lot of it. If you look up how much you require a day, we're talking about maybe 2 tablespoons. We're not talking about a lot of fat. We're talking about fats that are healthy for us. If you eat enough nuts and seeds and omega-3 fats from like fish, you're getting some really great oils that way too. So you're not just getting it from the oils and the butter and the oil, right? You're also getting it from other foods. And I looked up because I knew this question was coming. Can you get enough healthful oils from just the foods? Can you eat enough nuts and flax and chia per day to make up for not using any oils? And the research that I saw, there's a tiny bit. It says, no, not really. It would be hard for you to do so. Not impossible. But again, you're going to listen to your own body. Do you feel healthier without it or not? So I always have the caveat. I'm going to tell you what the science says, and then I'm going to tell you, check that with your body. All right. Amanda, in terms of career path in culinary medicine, would you recommend someone get started as a food coach as they get their master's in nutrition, or simply wait until they're an accredited RDN? Amanda, it depends on how busy you are right now. Getting an RDN in your master's, that's a pretty, one of my students who works with me, that's a heavy lift right now. The good thing about the Food Coach Academy, though, is you can take as long as you want to finish it. You can do it in little bites, and it will totally influence yourself as a dietitian. So I would say get a cup of coffee or tea, Amanda, and I'm totally serious about this, and close your eyes and take some deep breaths and ask yourself, do you have the capacity? Are you being led this direction? And if it is, yeah, join, because it will change your world, your perspective on diet, and especially how to interact with individuals. I have to say that a lot of the students, what's most life changing for them, they love the nutrition, they love the cooking, they love it all. But in terms of how to coach somebody, that's where the connection piece is, because food is about connection. And when we take that connective piece away, we have something that's ultra processed. Ha ha! Yes, I just made a joke. But anyway, it is ultra processed, right? Because we all come with food stories and we all have different reasons why we're choosing what we're choosing. And that's not covered anywhere else I know. So our food coaches get to follow their food stories, what's leading their food choices, so that they can help others do the same. I would love to see you, Amanda. All right, Steve, I want to start. Oh, sorry, people. I keep doing that. Patrick's going to just be like, Debbie, what are you doing? Stop this. Mm. All right. You want to start using a cast iron pan. What happened to that one? Oh, there we go. But I have a glass stovetop. I'm sorry, Steve. Yeah, you can't. You can't. Oh, that's hard. Yeah, you can't go. You're going to end up scratching your cast iron pan. Nope, it's not going to work. Wish I could help you there. I'm trying to think where else could you use a cast iron pan. Can you get an induction burner and do it on a conduction burner? Well, you might want to look into that, Steve, because I'm not sure. But that you can get like a one thing induction burner. This is what we use when we do teaching kitchens, right? We get this little induction burner that just we can plug in no matter where we go. Oh, sorry. Would you not recommend coconut oil? Vonda, that is a very good question. I would not recommend coconut oil or palm oil. They are solid at room temperature, and they basically, when trans fat came out of the food, they're dumping palm and coconut, which is a saturated fat. Yes, there is some evidence that it's a shorter saturated fat, and they're not as unhealthful for us as other saturated fats. I would use it like I would use any other fat, Vonda. I would, if I'm making my golden milk, I might put a little quarter teaspoon in there. But I'm not going to think of it, which I think a lot of people have, go, ooh, coconut milk. I don't have to worry about fat being bad for me because it's coconut or it's palm kernel oil. That's not how it works. It's still a fat. It's still solid at room temperature. It still is not good for you um, in too much. And that too much is a little, right? So when we're looking at fats and oils, we're talking about tablespoons, 2 to 3 tablespoons a day. That's what I would have to say about that. You guys are asking such incredible questions, and I'm going to start doing this every month. And I also want to say to you, if you have a topic you want me to cover, please send that to me. You can get a hold of me. You just go to my website, drdebkennedy.com, and you can get a hold of me that way. And also the questions, when you send them in beforehand, I really love it because I get to look up what's the latest, newest, hottest thing to be able to go, oh, is this real or not real? Like the seed oil. I wish you all health. I wish you all connection, which we all need more of. We all need more connection in today's world. And I hope you connect to yourself over the food choices that you make, getting together with others and celebrating over food. Thank you so much for coming.